In a small village there was a young lad named Jara. The villagers spoke of him often, for he was sharp-witted and quick of mind. His teachers admired him, and his parents held their heads high with pride. All believed his future would shine like the morning sun. But Jara had one great flaw. He never took failure to heart. Whenever Jara met with failure, he would look around, blaming the world or offering excuses. He would shrug his shoulders and say, "It's fine, next time I'll do better." Yet he never learned from his missteps. His days were filled with games, chatter with friends, and staring at the glow of the screen. Time and again, his parents warned him, "Jara, if you don't learn from the road you've stumbled upon, you will one day find a much steeper hill to climb." But the young lad paid no mind, thinking to himself, "There's no hurry. I'll set things right when the time comes." One fateful day, the results of the village's yearly exams were shared. Jara, once the pride of the classroom, found his marks well below what all had expected. His teachers, who once spoke of him with glowing words, now looked on with disappointment. His friends, who once hung on his every word, began to drift away. When Jara returned home, his parents gazed upon the report card with heavy hearts. A great shame settled in his chest. That night he sat by himself, his thoughts swirling. "Why has this happened?" he wondered. "I thought I was clever, but now I feel like I've lost everything." He couldn't see a way forward, no path to fix his wrongs. Feeling as though the world had no place for him, Jara went to his grandfather, an old and wise man of the village. Sitting by the firelight, Jara poured out his heart. "Grandfather, I don't understand why I've failed. I have always tried to be a good student." His grandfather listened with patience, and then smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Ah, my child," he said, "failure is not the true foe. The real trouble lies in never learning from it. Let me tell you a tale that will change your life. Long ago, in a far-off land, there lived a wealthy merchant named Arlen. His business flourished, and all who knew him spoke of his success. Yet, Arlen had a habit, a bad one. Whenever misfortune came, he would blame the winds of fate and move on, never pausing to learn from his losses. One year, Arlen made a bold and risky investment, only to lose a fortune. His friends and advisors begged him to be cautious, but Arlen dismissed their words. "I have wealth enough," he said. "One failure is nothing." Yet, as the seasons passed, Arlen repeated the same blunders. He invested without thought, trusted the wrong folk, and refused to learn from his past. Slowly, bit by bit, he lost all he had built. One day, Arlen sat outside his empty shop, a deep regret in his heart. An old sage, who had quietly watched Arlen's rise and fall, approached him. "Arlen," the sage said, "failure is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. But if you close your heart to its lessons, you will continue to stumble." Arlen looked up, puzzled. "How can failure be a teacher?" he asked. The sage smiled and gestured toward a small tree nearby. "Look at that tree," he said. "When the storm came, some branches were broken. But did the tree stop growing? No. It learned to grow stronger, and so must you. Treat failure as the winds that make you stronger, not the storm that breaks you." At last, Arlen understood. He began to study his errors, learn from them, and work with newfound resolve. In time, he rebuilt his business. But this time, he avoided the pitfalls that had once swallowed him. His failures had shown him the way forward. Jara sat, his mind swirling with new thoughts. For the first time, he understood. Failure was not the end of the road. It was the teacher. "Grandfather," Jara asked, "does this mean I can still change my path?" The old man smiled kindly. "Of course, my child. The secret is simple. Stop making excuses and start learning from your missteps. If you do this, there is nothing that can stand in the way of your success. That very night, Jara made a promise deep in his heart. He would no longer run from failure. He would learn from it and grow stronger. The next morning, Jara sat down and made a plan. He thought long and hard about his past mistakes. He saw that he had never reviewed his lessons, wasted time on distractions, and refused to ask for help when needed. Jara changed his ways. He began to study regularly, asked his teachers for guidance, and reduced his time spent on idle distractions. With every mistake, he learned and grew stronger. Slowly, Jara's efforts bore fruit. In the next exam, his results were much improved. His teachers saw his hard work. His parents smiled with pride, and his friends began to admire his newfound determination. Many years later, Jara became a successful merchant. When people asked him the secret of his success, he would smile and say, "Failure is the best teacher, if you're willing to listen. It is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your success." If you see failure as a lesson, you will always find a way to grow. So, the next time you fall, don't be disheartened. Ask yourself, what can I learn? And if you keep learning, success will find its way to you.